power. And I think the same applies to HRT. You know, like many women maybe don't have the full information about HRT and therefore can't make an informed choice about whether this would be suitable for them or not. So that's my, although I've never taken it or don't have a lot of experience of talking to people who do. I don't want to say. I don't want to put it in. I don't want to say. Oh, like I'm not here to say. Elective cesareans, full stop, a bad thing. Or epidural is a full stop, a bad thing. No, everything has its place. But you've got to know your shit, right? So, yeah. Okay. Another one. So there's one called the 7 Sacred Rites of Menopause by Christy Mason-Boylan, which sounds kind of relevant to us in the spiritual community. And this is from my Wise Woman, my Well Woman course from Uma. Uma has a Life Stages course, and it's called Well Woman Yoga Therapy, and it's kind of the 7 Sacred Rites of Menopause by Christy Mason-Boylan. The vast majority of books on menopause do not address what every transitional woman instinctively knows. Menopause is much more than just a list of physical ailments. It is a spiritual journey. This book outlines the 7 rituals or stepping stones that a woman moves through on her menopause voyage, marking her way through midlife. So this is it sounds like pretty interesting stuff, It's like, how Wildflower breaks down the menstrual, the winter into like 5 chambers, and you kind of get to know like really in detail about that. It seems to be something like that, So I need to read all of these. Yeah. And I know I've heard from Uma as well that she's really into this book, The Divine Dance in the Sacred Landscape of Britain by Francis Lewis and someone else. And basically this is kind of like, it's a personal story of menopause, and she knows these authors herself, and they kind of go on this beautiful pilgrimage into nature, and photograph this spectacular journey into this life stage. So she's quite keen on that. Sounds more like the artistic version of this. It's more from the artistic angle, which sounds very kind of something to kind of interesting as well. So you've got like a base, kind of the wisdom of menopause is like the key one, like the generic one. Then you've got the, doctor, the working with the medical community one, and then you've got the artistic one and the spiritual one. So lots of different ways of approaching the same subject, right? Okay. Bit of reading material there. Okay. So so what we're going to work on now is a couple of things. So we're expanding the concept as creative juices flow, which is wonderful. Marita's providing some juice over there, and Kata, or the combination. So they're in Wise Women right now, so they are creating a bit of wild power over there. So one thing we didn't talk about in the Tara day, kind of really Tara, each Maha video kind of deserves their own course, right? This is the problem. Now you kind of see, it's quite a short course, but one of the things that I practiced in my short course, Reclaim, Reason and Ritual with Vanessa, was this concept of, I think we've gone, I was there a minute ago, concept, I can tell you, the concept of the moon box. Okay, and I'm going to get Marisa to tell you a little bit about the moon box. We're going to take that concept into the menopause, and we're going to create, we're going to seed the menopause treasure chest. Okay, so I just want Marisa and Kata just to tell us a bit about this concept, what it is, why it might be interesting, because I'm You don't want to listen to me the whole day.
So, Joe, I'm not sure about TV, but Marita and me did Vanessa's Reason and Reclaim course, and every week you meet one of the four archetypes. So we think it happened in Mother, but we're not so sure anymore. So there's this concept of the moon box that basically is like a treasure chest that contains things that comfort you during your bleed, or the few days before and the few days after. So it contains things like tea bags, maybe some chocolate, crystals, your tarot cards, a book with quotes that comforts you during whatever it is. And so when you get to that stage where you're just overwhelmed and you really could use some comfort or some like spiritual hack, you take out your box and you give that love to yourself. And I think we prepared it in Mother because this is when you have this nurturing spirit and you prepare it so you have it when you reach your bleed. And the idea came actually from what Marita thought of before, what menopause is after our cycle years.
And it was triggered by the word in the paper Joe gave us, which said to harvest. So that made me think about, well, really our blood is like our biological mother, right? Our blood is our wisdom. We've been learning that, and we hopefully all agree on that. And so we have, like a baby, you have your mom, your parents, well, you have your parents, but you have your mom teaching you everything. You know, you have, they're your guardian, so you learn how to walk, and then they teach you how to do laundry and like this, all of this like functional stuff, but how to cook. And when you do go off to university, that's when you kind of like, you realize all the things that they're preparing you to fly from the nest. So I kind of like felt like your blood is exactly the same thing. It's your spiritual mother who's really all she's doing is preparing you for this time. And then we need to have that same confidence that we did when we go off and fly the nest, because that's really what the preparation is for. And so we thought, you know, all the things that Joe was reading out about going inward and reflection and meditation and all of it's beautiful, yoga nidra, it's all beautiful ways to access inner wisdom. But we just felt like human beings are also such creatures that love also more tangible ways. And strangely enough, Kata and I both had this recent experience where when we were kids, well, the experience was recent, but when we were kids, we wrote letters to friends. I'm sure a lot of you may resonate with that, yeah? And I even went through this phase with my friends. It wasn't even friends that were away. It was just even girls in the class for some reason. Not so whether, and within the last 1 month, for some reasons, both of us accessed those letters with those friends. And it was a really beautiful, wonderful, almost like a homecoming, because you could relive so much. And the letters I had, even some of them had drawings, some of them had like these old pictures when people actually have negatives you developed and you had pictures. So that just brought about the idea that if we could harvest the wisdom in a way that's also tangible, so that as you have in Wise Woman now, as we're cycling, you have some insights, or you have some discoveries, or there are little treasures that you're adding to your moon box, that you find a way to tangibly keep a record of it. Something that, it's not, again, this is not for the monthly cycling, it's something that you just even put away. And then it's something that we could maybe come back to when we hit perimenopause and menopause, that you don't feel like something is lost, because you found as many ways as possible to record and, you know, sort of still have that. And just another idea, when Suzanne's mom was here recently, Suzanne's mom came from the US for 1 month. And they already at the beginning of her visit were pining about the fact that the mom would leave. So the little idea they came up with is they took 2 old jam jars, 2 clean jam jars, and each of them kept a jam jar. And even though they were together, whenever either one would have a thought that they would want the other one to remember, they called them joy jars. They would write little pieces of paper, fold it up, and fill the jar. So over that 1 month, Suzanne's mom filled a jar for her, and Suzanne filled it for her mom. So that when her mom would go away, anytime, you would have your little joy jar to take out a note and to still, and like as much as we have the internet and Skype and all of these things, for me, I'm very, very old fashioned. I realize the older I get. These little like tangible things, and you see someone's handwriting, it just brings so much back. You wrote it here in this place. If you write something, for me, it would bring me back to this moment in the shala with these leaves, with the smell. I'd see your faces. And so for me, that becomes very, very helpful and very beautiful. So, yeah, so that's basically what we wanted to share, the idea of the moon box. Vanessa did it for the little girls, and it was beautiful for the premenstrual girls because they didn't have anything. So now they've got moon boxes waiting for them. And we were talking to the girls on our table, to Orshia and Makio, and they already, as grown women, have their rituals for themselves. So you may already have something that's not a moon box where everything's, your crystals may be here, and your essential oils may be in another drawer, and your chocolate is in a different cupboard, and that's absolutely fine. Some people like the idea of opening something and it's all in one place. But yeah, if you do have a moon box, or if you want to bring all the things you already have into one place, the idea is to add to it to prepare for when our blood, that mother, technically leaves us, because she doesn't really leave us, but it's just the physicality of it and how to help ourselves in as many ways as possible.
And I originally, and I think I might not be alone, avoided this subject like the plague, because for me, especially as I do a lot of Bhuvaneshwari work, which is very nice, abundance, pregnancy, fertility, it's like it's the acceptable part of femininity. Pregnancy is desirable in even in the modern world. Maybe not the 8 to 10 of old, but it's like still we're structured in this really narrow view of maybe it's variable in terms of culture, but like the woman's worth according to how many how many children you produce. I mean, to put it bluntly, we are still living in that world. So if you, I think for some women it might be that menopause is basically the slap in the face. It's like the door closes, and if it's like fertility is your womanness or your femininity, and suddenly someone's like suddenly there's no possibility of you having a physical child, then it's like you get lost in the space of, am I a woman anymore? And it's like it's loss and it's trauma, and it's basically it's it's pretty heavy for as a closure. But now I attended, originally I mean, to be honest, I'll tell you what, so I was doing prenatal yoga work, and I was like, well, I think I'll go to, I read Yoni Shakti, and I was like, obviously this lady is amazing, and I looked at all her courses, and I was like, what course of hers can I do? And then I read about, Well Woman Yoga Therapy, and I thought, well, that sounds interesting, because it's all the other stuff. It's, menstruality consciousness. I thought, well, that would probably be interesting. I'm having a period, so, I've got to learn something on that, at least personal level. And then the fertility bit, I could definitely do that, and I'd probably make some money out of it in Dubai. Oh, yeah. Right? Because women are struggling for obvious reasons, because of the, we all know the picture. So I had like zero interest in the menopause bit. I was like, well, it's part of the course, But then I was like, hang on a minute, I totally missed the point, Like this is the important bit actually. So, and even this time last year, we kind of like we hadn't quite got there.
We really didn't.
We hadn't quite got.
We didn't go there.
Like, we didn't even go there last year,
which
is kind of telling, and like Vanessa says, well, if you're working with blood and with menstruality consciousness and cyclical wisdom, that's one taboo. But the bigger taboo is actually working with menopause, which is completely like, don't even go there. This is like, and even my husband like goes around making comments about menopausal women, like negative.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a thing about it, and I'm like, and I guess it's like, you know, the ultimate thing with the, you know, the man who basically, you know, once the wife reaches menopause, they just chuck them away and get a new one. You know, that, you know,
It's
that's
like
a phenomenon.
replacing your car.
That's a phenomenon, right? So yeah, whatever.
The new model.
But no, well, they can do that. You know, let him if he really wants to do that. Let him do that. I'm okay with that. It's all right. So getting back to the point. So what we are going to do in this, picking up on these creative flows, what I had intended for today was for us to do two things. Okay, so the first thing would be for us to spend a little private time writing a letter to our future perimenopausal self. Okay, so we're gonna do some private time in the Shala and just spend 10 to 10 minutes writing that from the point of view of where we are, writing a letter to your future self, and you're gonna keep that. It'd be great. I could keep them and send them to you in 6 years. But I'm a bit optimistic. I'm sure my admin will handle that. So you're going to keep those letters, okay? And the second thing we're going to do is collaborative. So we're going to, all the stuff we've discussed before lunch, we're going to collate that all up. So we end up with our menopause manifesto. You can call it something else if you've got a better idea. But it will be our menopause manifesto. So for example, number one could be spending time in nature will nourish your soul. For example, okay? But you can decide, almost like in our 200-hour course that we do, we have the 10 most important ethics of being a yoga teacher. So now we're going to look at the menopause manifesto. You can also consider your role as a yoga teacher within it. So you might also like to include the way you handle and the way you deal with your own students within that manifesto as well. I think this is an important part of it. This is either a teacher training or it's continuous professional development. So consider that as well in your manifesto. How it's going to work for your students. How you're going to respond to your students in the classroom who are having these experiences. Okay, all right. So at this point, I'll give you some paper, or you can use. Would you prefer to use your notebook? So find some decent paper. This paper's not that good. Okay. So you're going to start the letter with the date. Sometimes the date and the year. Often when you get, you look back on pieces of paper, it hasn't got the year on, you don't even know when you wrote it. So put the date and the year, and under the banyan tree, Penastanan, Kaya, Ubud, Gianyar, Indonesia, and then you're going to start the letter, dear mother, and write, your thoughts and feelings right now. Okay. And maybe Pee-wee and myself, we can also. Okay. So, if you prefer your notebook, go for it. Yeah.
Or I can use this pen.
And Pee-wee and I will do this as well.
I have step. I haven't
So if anyone needs
This is an extra
a
pen.
I also
paper.
have spare pens if someone needs.
Who needs
Yeah.
a pen?
Thank you.
This one's mine.